Hello, this is Mrs. Kantz for Unit 3. We have been discussing different types of organisms this unit and some characteristics of these organisms. So this is the test review video for you to be able to look at and study off from, and also helping you complete the study guide that is due Thursday, March 23rd by 5 p.m. for extra credit. So here is that review, and here are those questions. Before I get started, I do want to talk about the goals for this unit assessment. The goal is to be able to take the test and score above a 70%. And if you don't get that score, you are eligible to be able to retake that test. First question that's going to pop up on your study guide is going to be define taxonomy. This is the science of classification. We are classifying organisms into categories based on relationships and how they are put together, what types of things that are their characteristics that are unique to them. They're going to be put in specific categories. So taxonomy is how we are classifying organisms based on relationships, similarities, and differences. Number 2 is asking what kinds of evidences do scientists use in taxonomy. The first one is observation. Scientists are looking at similarities and differences. However, that's not going to be good enough to be able to put them into categories. So we also are going to be using the evolutionary history or phylogeny. Anatomical similarities. That's going to be those homologous structures. Our arm is very similar to, as far as bone structure, very similar to the structure of a bird wing. Vestigial features, those were the features that are going to be hidden, or not necessarily hidden, but they're not going to have function in organisms, present-day organisms. At one time, they may have had function, but at this current moment, there is not a function. So the whale hip and femur bone, they have them, but there's no function. So those are the vestigial structures. Embryotic similarities, that's when organisms are very, very small. So animals in the womb, before they're born, that embryotic similarities, and the DNA molecular evidence. So looking at the comparisons between DNA structures in different organisms. Question 3 is using this taxonomy chart, which is more related? This is a phylogenetic tree here. Fungi and animals, or plants and fungi? If we want to look at this chart, we see our common ancestor down here. Each branch tells us how close in relationship they are. So bacteria was that first to evolve, and then those archaeans, they are going to be related to those eukaryotes. Plants were one of those that first evolved in that eukaryotic category, and then we have fungi and animals that are on the same branch. Because they are on the same branch, we can say that they are going to be more related than the plants and fungi that are actually on two different branches. Question number 4, compare and contrast the 3 domains, archaea, bacteria, and eukarya. Archaea, single-celled prokaryotes, which means they have no nucleus, no membrane-bound organelles. They have a unique RNA sequence and a unique membrane structure on their cells that allow them to live in extreme habitats. Keyword, extreme habitats. Bacteria, also single-celled prokaryotes, no nucleus, no membrane-bound organelles. They have a strong membrane, cell membrane, that's made of peptoglycan, which is a combination of sugars and amino acids. And these guys are going to be divided into two different groups, the autotrophic group and a heterotrophic group. This is how they get their energy. Autotrophs means that they are making their own food. Heterotrophs means that they have to consume another organism to get their food. Eukarya, that is going to be where we hang out. Multicellular organisms, they have eukaryotic cells, which means they have a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. List the groups of the modern day classification system from the most broad to the most specific. Pause the video, see if you can do it. Use one of those mnemonic devices. Dancing King Philip came over for good spaghetti. What do those words mean in as far as that classification system? Here it is written down that first, that most broad or the biggest group is domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and specific epithet or species. What form of energy do all cells in living organisms use? That would be ATP. All organisms are going to undergo a specific process that is going to produce ATP. That is going to be the usable energy source. Glucose will be the stored energy. ATP is the usable energy. Explain how flatworms, ferns, and humans are related based on how they obtain usable energy. That ATP is being produced through the process of cellular respiration. They all take in that glucose or make that glucose for plants and turn it into ATP, which is that energy used in the cell. Glucose is just stored energy. It must be converted to ATP for us organisms to be able to use it. Compare and contrast the digestive system of human and flatworm. Notice we don't have plants on this compare and contrast. So here are the similarities and differences. Similarities are hanging out in the middle here. Heterotrophs, they are both going to be heterotrophs, which means they are consuming other organisms to get their food, and they take in food for cellular respiration. Humans, they have an open digestive system, two openings. Food goes in the mouth and then out the anus. The mouth is there to chew and break down food. And then nutrients are circulated by the circulatory system or circulation system, so through our blood. Flatworms have a closed system, one opening, it's called the pharynx, and it is a branched digestive cavity, so it distributes those nutrients. The waste will come back out that same opening. Why did we not talk about plants in this? Plants are not digesting food unless if it was the Venus flytrap, and then there's digestive enzymes that are being used. Compare and contrast the waste removal system of human, flatworm, and plants. Humans have an open system, very similar, works alongside their digestive system. It's complex as far as we are excreting liquid and solid through that excretory system. And then our respiratory system, so think lungs, are going to be exhaling that CO2 or that carbon dioxide. So that's how we are getting rid of things that our body does not need. Flatworms have a closed system, and it's very simple. So they excrete liquid, highly branched excretory tubules. The solids are coming back out the same way that food went in, through that mouth. And the gases are going to be used through diffusion. So remember, they are taking in oxygen through diffusion. They're also going to be excreting that carbon dioxide and other gases through diffusion as well. Particles moving from higher concentration to a lower concentration through their skin. Gas waste in plants. So they have gas waste through the stomata. Solid waste is actually going to be stored in what's called the central vacuole. Respiratory system between flatworms, plants, humans, and fish. Humans are going to inhale through the mouth and nose, and lungs are going to take in that oxygen. And then we are going to be removing the CO2 as well. We have a respiratory system. It's a very highly developed respiratory system. And then blood is going to transport oxygen to all the cells in the body. Flatworms have a pharynx located in the center of the body, not for gas intake and removal, but they're going to diffuse that oxygen and carbon dioxide through their skin. Plants are going to produce oxygen during photosynthesis. They bring in oxygen, carbon dioxide through its stomata, removes oxygen that's not needed. Water, carbon dioxide is also going to leave through those same pores, those stomata. It makes oxygen, and it's going to use that oxygen. So any extra oxygen, that's what they are releasing into the atmosphere. Can obtain that oxygen through two different ways, the stomata and that photosynthesis process. And then fish are absorbing dissolved oxygen from water through their gills. Two unique things about plants that humans can't do. Well, number one, plants have chloroplasts, so they are able to convert sunlight to food. And they are able to produce oxygen through photosynthesis. So not only are they able to make their own food with those chloroplasts and photosynthetic process, they are also able to produce oxygen. Why is the heart important for our survival? Well, to sum it up, pumps oxygenated blood through our body. We need to get that oxygen throughout our body. 3 types of waste that humans remove: liquid, solid, and gas. The gas is going to be mostly CO2, leaves through the lungs, mouth, and nose. Liquid is going to be in the form of urine, leaves through the liver, kidneys, bladder. And solid, or that feces, is going to be moving through the colon, rectum, and finally the anus. And then why is it necessary for us to be able to remove that waste? If we are not removing that waste, we are keeping that toxic stuff inside our body. It builds up in the body and causes illness and death. So it is a way for our bodies, or anybody, or any organism, to maintain homeostasis. That is the review sheet. You guys should be well prepared and be ready for that test. Have a great rest of your day.